Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And this is Ignite Your Impact. My name is Ifi Aronwokafo. I am a broadcaster and event host, and I welcome you specially to this web series. This web series is put together by DoRight Awareness Initiative. And today, as usual, we'll focus on the Do Right initiative. Now, this is a movement that is out campaigning and advocating for a culture of excellence in Nigeria. It is about time that the era of lawlessness and moral decadence ends, and that is the essence and the objective of Do Right initiative. Joining us tonight, we're joined by three incredible leaders. I dare say these are role models, people we hear about, we follow. And tonight they are here this evening to talk to us about how to start doing right. Join me as I make welcome the senior pastor of Guiding Light Assembly, Pastor Wale Adefarasin. Pastor, it's good to have you this evening.
Thank you very much.
And we also have with us a great woman. She is the COO of Conradclark Nig Ltd. Um, Ayo Almuto. It's good to have you this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Okay, glad to have you too. We also have from MCIPM, the delectable Adesua Adewole. It's good to have you this evening, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Ife, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Thank you so much. I welcome everyone from everywhere. Please, you can use the chat button. Tell us where you're joining us from, because as we go along, I would like to also get your questions. Whatever is great, please let us know so that speakers can clarify. Use the chat as button and drop your messages telling us your name and where you're joining us from. Please ensure you do that because I would like to celebrate you as we go along. Now, let us kickstart this session with a general question. I would like for our speakers to talk to us about the Do Right initiative and their conceptualization of what Do Right is about. Now, Do Right initiative essentially highlights the damage caused by lawlessness and moral decadence in Nigeria. In your view, I would like for us to make it a bit concise so that we manage our time better. Can you tell us the biggest challenges that this initiative aims to address in Nigeria at this point in time? We will take it up from there. I would like to start from Pastor Wale Adefarasin. What's the biggest challenge that Do Right is targeting? What's the biggest wall that Do Right has got to break down?
Well, if you ask me, it's one word: corruption. Corruption's permeated our society. It affects high, it affects low. It's all over, and that's our primary target. In order to achieve that, we need to look at honesty, integrity, and all these values that make for an incorruptible society.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, I'll move on now to Ma'am Ayo Almuto. Can you also weigh in on this, please?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to just add to what Pastor has said, because I do agree with him. But I want to add the tone at the top. Even though the tone at the top could be corruption, but it's like, people are too busy looking at the tone at the top. So they're sort of paralyzed to do what they should be doing. So I think the biggest challenge for me is that people should stop looking at the tone at the top and just do the right thing themselves. For me, I think that's where the angle I want to come from. The tone at the top has failed. Therefore, what do we do next? That's where I want to fight from. Thank you.
Okay, what do we do next? What can we do as individuals without looking at the other man? Sonny Neji actually sang the song Blame the Other Man. I think that's what we always end up doing at the end of the day. Ma'am Adesua, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so if you go to our website, we say the prosperity of any nation is anchored on the values and the uprightness of the people and their leaders. We must reawaken and entrench uprightness in Nigeria and reject the pandemic of lawlessness that pervades our national life. So just to add to what Pastor and Ayo have said, the mindset of the people should shift from short-term to legacy building, looking beyond their existence of how you want a nation to be, beyond your own time. So that also means that whatever you're going to do now is critical to the success of what you want to see tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you so much for that response. Thank you so much for that response, concise and to the point. You talked about legacy building, and that is very critical. Now, let us get into other aspects of this. Pastor, can you talk to us from a spiritual perspective now, talking precisely as a leader of a faith community? What's the role that the faith communities can play in promoting values, right values within the Nigerian society, seeing that DoRight emphasizes the importance of right values?
Okay. First of all, the two predominant faiths in Nigeria both espouse values, honesty, integrity, truthfulness, and so on and so forth. They both espouse values. The Bible teaches us that righteousness exalts a nation, and sin is a reproach to any people. So it's already
Mm,
part of the DNA of a Christian or a Muslim to do the right thing. It's already part of our DNA. So, how do we get people to do the right thing? How do we remind ourselves in our churches and our mosques that doing the right thing is essential to see the nation grow? The other thing that will help the faith community can do is lead by example. If we do the right thing, instead of
mm.
simply asking people to do the right thing, we will find that people have an example that they can follow, an example to emulate. Let somebody else take it up from there if
Okay.
you like.
Thank you so much. Talking about examples, now let's talk about what happens in the workplace where examples can actually be shown and leaves borrowed. The initiative, Do Right, talks about rebuilding lost values in the workplace. This is coming to Ma'am Alamutu. Talk to us about how businesses can contribute to.
Sorry, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you. She just frozen up for one
Okay.
second.
Okay,
We
she's the
just
one
wait
that's
for one.
frozen. I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, maybe you can follow up on the question she was asking.
Okay. All right. Well,
The past is behind us, and the future is bright.
Okay, so are you
okay.
want me to
Can I
answer
just
the
answer
question?
the
Yeah.
question? Yes. Yes. I was going to say that the business environment has its own part to play in fighting corruption, like it's what we started from. But I think that even the businesses, one needs to have policies and procedures in place that to even guide the staff on what to do, what to do right. Policies against anti-money laundering,
Okay.
bribery, giving back end, giving people are supposed to sign non-disclosure agreements so that they don't steal company data and company stuff, which even that is becoming quite rampant now. I think, but beyond the policies and procedures, there needs to be some sort of education of the staff. Doing sort of induction, onboarding of staff. By the time sort of things are like this is how we do. This is the culture in our organization. I think is shaping the culture in the organizations to be like that, and invariably, of course, like someone said, leading by example. By the time the staff who are already in the organization are doing the right thing, others are coming. We find it easier to join them to do the right thing. So I think if the organizations have the proper policy in place, and then also even when if staff should break it, there should be some consequence to it. I mean, recently we've seen a lot of documents come out of the government office that have no business coming to us. Really, I mean, even the staff are not doing the right thing. So you need to educate staff and let them understand and appreciate that even they have a role to play in doing the right thing beyond just looking at the government officials. I think that will help, businesses to be in the right direction. Thank you. If you are muted.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm coming to you, Ma'am Adesua. Let us look at how the citizenry, ourselves, and our leaders can be more in control. We're talking of accountability, which is crucial for what DoRight stands for. How can we empower citizens, ordinary citizens, to actively engage in holding both themselves and the leaders to the high standards that we want to see in our society?
Okay, so there are many ways to look at this, but I'll also look at it from one angle. Education. There's a lot of assumptions that people may know what is the right thing to do. And as we were preparing for this program, a thought just crossed my mind. A child that was born, maybe even just say 10 years ago, that has lived in our environment and observed how people have operated over a period of time to learn what they think is the way they should go. The decadence that has been showcased is what that child has embraced, that's the environment they've lived, that's what they've learned, that's what they know. And as a nation, if we think back 25, 30 years ago, the environment was like this, but maybe slightly better. Perhaps 50 years ago, we are 60 plus years as a nation, but the time existed when the neighbor was also a parent to a child. So for me, education is, I won't say education, but education, because when I look at it from an educational point of view, talk about communication. We empower people when we educate them. By sharing the correct narrative, which is one of the things that we strive to do as an initiative. We're also stimulating people via advocacy, which is another angle that we want to progress to as we evolve as an initiative. We want to encourage people to have a singular voice that is positive, is saying the right thing, having the right narrative. So together, there's strength in number. You also want to listen, because then if you don't listen, you never understand and correct the wrong narratives. If you push something that you feel is right and someone doesn't understand it, you're wasting our time. So one of the things that is key for us to do is also to listen. And I will end by saying, in terms of support for one another, being our brother's keeper, we need to go back to the foundations of the cultural aspects of our nation. We have very great policies that have been written that are there, but how many of us are aware about them? And if we look at the pockets of where we operate in any sector, there are guidelines. We're not working in the forest. We're working in an environment that has some form of organization. But that alignment can only come when people understand it, they know it, they're educated about it, then they can apply it. So I'll say education for me is very paramount at this point in time of where we are as a nation.
Okay, now I'll also chip this thing so you can address it briefly. You're a professional in human resources and management. And what do you see as the most critical factors contributing to the erosion of ethical values in the workplace in Nigeria? You talked about the cultural systems,
Okay, I think you're frozen again, but I got the essence of the question that you were asking, so I'll attempt to answer it now. And it's also stemmed from what Ayo Almuto was just talking about. If you look at any organization, big or small, without having any form of documentation to structure that environment, there's going to be utter chaos. And whether it's an organization, whether it's the home of a family, there are guidelines that should exist that will tell you how to operate within that environment. So if, for example, very simply, I tell you when you come to my house, you must remove your shoes. It's what I desire, what I want before you can come into my home. And you refuse to do that. I have the right to tell you not to come into my home. So in any organization, the right values have to be placed. And I emphasize the word rights. You know what? Do rights. There are values that exist today that are wrong. And they play out in many organizations today, and they yield the result that we see in our environment today. What are those right values? And that's why it stems from that point I talked about education. So for businesses today, for them to try, for them to be able to have professionals that operate in a manner in which is expected of them, it must be clearly spent out. There should be no ambiguity about at all. So in the policies, the processes, it now has to be entrenched so that
Okay.
everybody, from the cleaner that's operating there to the head of the operation, understands what these values mean. So if you tell a value of a famous one that we all use all the time, say, I love integrity, integrity. What does it really mean, integrity? Especially when it's not playing out in the environment in the way we expect it to. So there has to be clarity about the expectations on how people should operate. And
Okay.
from that, it leads also to now being enforced or punitive measures to correct it at the end of the day. So I'm putting it in a very simplistic form, but whether big, whether small, whether in your home, whether in government, whether in
Okay.
churches, there
Yeah.
are guidelines for how we should operate. And those things that people should understand and adhere to.
Enforcing compliance comes in some. Okay. A response. We're still staying with issues in the corporate sector in the work environment, but we'll take this message from DoRight Initiative. It's just a short clip. We'll look at this clip and get right back. Remember that this is DoRight Initiative advancing the cause for a better Nigeria. Thanks for being here. We'll be back. Welcome back to the web series for today. And of course, we are still talking about how to do it right. And this is Ignite Your Impact. So, by the end of today, we'll be ready to ignite our impact at higher levels. We're still taking reactions from our speakers, still have with us Pastor Wale Adefarasin, the senior pastor of Guiding Light Assembly. Ayo Almuto of Conradclark Nig Ltd. She is the COO. And we also have Adesua Adewole of MCIPM. Okay, now staying with issues in the corporate sector and Conradclark Nig Ltd. What are some of the biggest challenges you've observed regarding ethics and uprightness, doing it right in the corporate sector in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question. Um, luckily for me, where I'm working right now, which is Conradclark, the culture is to do the right thing. The culture which the managing director, put in place is one where we'd rather lose the job than pay any back end or pay anybody. So where I'm currently working, there's no problem. I mean, there's even, like I said earlier, if you have the policies in place, the procedures, staff will come in, this is the culture here, and that's what we speak. We're all speaking from the same song sheet. So I've not had any problem there. But I've worked obviously for a lot of years, and I've worked in places where the culture, what is written is one thing, what is being done is another thing. And I think really the problem is that um, because people want to get the jobs, get the contracts, they feel helpless other than to just give kickback, and invariably that is not the right culture for the staff working there. Because sometimes some staff I know have felt really they have the moral background and ethos that they didn't want to do such. I've had one where someone has resigned because they didn't want to do that. I've had some where somebody has prayed themselves out of a particular seat because that seat was there was too much compromise going on. And sadly, I've had somebody else who now took over the seat, and unfortunately, he couldn't get himself out of it, and he stayed on there. So of course, I'm sure he had to compromise. But I was also lucky in the sense that for me, I've not actually been on any seat where that has been a challenge. So because it's only when you're challenged that you know what you'll do really. But so yes, in the workspace, sometimes the document says don't do, but the culture is do the wrong thing. So it's only staff who are prepared to do the right thing who have to stand up and try and do the right thing. So that has been a challenge I've found in the workplace, and I think it seems to be getting worse now from what I hear from those who are in regular employment. Even though I know there are other companies where they're trying to do the right thing. So you're still trying to balance your own personal belief and the environment where you're in. But like Adesua said earlier, if you are born after some, in the more recent years, Gen Z, they might have a challenge knowing what the right thing is. So if they're working in an environment, unless the company really follows that culture, they may end up compromising because what they've seen may not be very good for them. So that's why we're hoping that as we talk to them, as we go out there and talk to people and remind people, sensitize people, that hopefully they will realize that they should do the right things. It is better to do the right thing than to not to. So really, for me, that's what I've seen in the workplace, and I'm hoping that as we talk to people before they come out into the workplace, they will understand the values they need to imbibe in the workplace. So yes, that's how I see it. Thank you, Ifi.
Okay. Thank you so much. If you're with us this evening, thank you so much. Or you just joined us, or you joined us earlier when we began, we appreciate your presence and we want to know that you're here. Please make use of this chat button. Just click on it and type your message. Drop us a comment or a question or a suggestion or contribution. We'll be glad to read it out and add your thoughts to the conversation as we shape our understanding of the issue at hand. And back to Pastor Wale Adefarasin with this question. Pastor, would like to know why you joined DoRight Initiative and what you believe your role as a senior pastor contributes to the overall mission of DoRight.
Okay, the reason I joined the Do Right initiative is simply the
Pastor,
fact
are
that,
you there?
yes, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
We can hear him. We can hear you.
Okay. The reason I joined the Do
Okay,
Right initiative
okay.
is the fact that doing the wrong thing seems to have become the culture.
Can you hear
You know,
me?
I'm hearing
We
you,
can hear
yes.
you.
Okay. So it seems to have become the culture. And how do we change that culture? It's by going to the other extreme, doing the right thing. Now, let me tell you some of the things that we learned from interacting with people. Take examination malpractice. I discovered that it is a 25 billion, that's billion with a B, 25 billion naira a year
Hmm.
industry, examination malpractice, that parents are prepared to pay large amounts of money so that their children will do an exam in a room in which they have access to whatever they want. And when we talk to children, when we talk to young people and ask them what they thought was cheating, they thought seeing
Yeah.
what they call expo is not cheating. It's normal because their parents help them to get these things. And this This obtains in almost every strata of society. People are so used to the fact that we just do the wrong thing and we get by. There's no
Mm.
sanction for doing the wrong thing. That's one of the things that made me get involved. And then why? What can I contribute as a pastor? The first thing is that pastors get to talk to a few thousand people every year, where we have an influence over people. Can we make that influence a positive influence by influencing people to doing the right thing? So that's my determination to lead by example in doing the right thing. I hope that answers that question. It seems our host is frozen again.
Yes, I think so. Okay, so maybe until she comes back, I'll just lend
Okay,
my
while
voice
we
to
wait,
what
while we wait
Pastor
for our
Wale has
host,
said.
while we wait for host,
Okay, go ahead, Archie.
while we wait for, yeah, while we wait for our host, let's go on a short break, and we will be back shortly.
Okay.
To ignite your impact. I'm staying with your thoughts, Pastor. Now, what are some of the proven strategies that you have adopted and tried over the years for instilling right values of integrity and uprightness in Nigerians, those you pastor, especially young people?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to constantly talk about values and explain what values are. A value really is what you value. If I value honesty, for instance, more than I value wealth, then I will not be prepared to do anything to attain wealth. But if it was the other way around, I would do anything to obtain wealth. So the first thing is constantly talking about values, teaching about values, and letting people know
Okay.
what God has to say about
Mm.
values. You want to say something?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm taking them in. What you're saying,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And so we get an opportunity to talk with people, to teach them. And I think more important than anything else is actually living by the values. I remember one when I was about 9 years old, my father took me to a church and the bishop was preaching and he said, "Do as I say, not as I do." And at 9 years old, I knew there was something wrong with that statement. Why should I do what you say and then you don't have to do it yourself? So being exemplary in living a life of values influences others to do the same. That's another thing. Now, Do Right has actually been into schools. We've been into schools where we have been teaching values, and we've made a lot of mileage with that. Currently, we're in a few schools and we're also in an we're in an orphanage where we are teaching values to the young people there, um, and in the hope that they will become influencers in their own right.
Okay. Proper values, ambassadors. That's very important. Okay, still expecting questions from members of the audience. Please drop your questions so that we ask them as we go along. We don't have to have a different session for questions. We can actually have everything flowing at the same time. I'm coming to you now, Ayo Almuto. Talk to us about ways that the private sector, is it even possible for the private sector to collaborate with initiatives like Do Right Awareness Initiative for the promotion of integrity and accountability in the business in Nigeria? Is it possible to collaborate, to facilitate
Oh,
things?
yes. Oh, definitely. I believe it's possible to collaborate, and I believe that even if some companies may not be doing the right thing, there's somewhere in their mission, vision, ethos that talks about some element of the right thing that they want to do, or they claim that's how they run their business. So by the time they look at our statement and what we stand for, if we talk
Okay.
about ESG a lot, ESG, but I think the S part, which is about social responsibility, sustainability,
Responsibility,
I
yeah.
think that they'll probably find, yeah, they'll probably find something that we are doing that they can collaborate with, and put their money where their mouth is, basically. And we have had one or two. I mean, we've had more recently. This was more of an individual, but who felt that the what we stood for,
Okay.
but not just one, maybe a few individuals that felt that what we stood for was the same way they were thinking, and they've sponsored some of our events without us actually, So yes, I do believe we can collaborate with the private sector, and even the public sector as well, because there are even companies in the public sector who might be interested in collaborating with us. Some people, we've had some people that have had pro bono cases. When we had a few cases, students that had cases, we've been able to find pro bono lawyers to take up their case and discuss with them. And human rights movement have. I think somebody has been to talk to them about some issues. So yes, we are beginning to collaborate with private and even public sector. All the end sort of public
Okay.
sector companies. Yes. So yes, I believe there's room for us, particularly if what we stand for they agree with, and most of them do agree with it. It's just that we need to just nudge them to do the right thing, and I believe it's going to be more. We're going to get more of that going forward. Collaborations with such organizations. So yes, thanks.
Okay, we have a comment. Thank you so much, Dapo Konde, for being here. He actually complimented Do Right Initiative, saying, great initiative. Thank you so much, Dapo. And his contribution is this. He says, principles are important, but leadership is cardinal. We need individuals that exemplify these values to become more visible. The people visible are those that don't do right. That's his thought. I don't know. Mama Adesua, do you agree that it's only those who don't do right that are visible?
I mean, he has a point in what he's saying in terms of them, such people being more in the forefront generally. But of course, I want to believe that a lot of people that have joined us this afternoon or this evening are here because they believe there's the potential for the nation, and we do have people who desire to do the right thing and are doing the right thing. I just want to just share
Mm,
the three highlights of our objective as an initiative. We have an enlightenment campaign, advocacy and mass mobilization, recognition, and role modeling. These are things that these are just umbrellas that we want to build on. Because if you don't have that structure, will help us begin to now identify people of like minds like us who have
okay.
expertise in certain areas that can lend their voice, they lend their expertise to drive this motion forward. Just like Pastor and then Ayo Almuto have said, we've done some things in the last 1 year to try to move this initiative forward. And yes, we started from the younger ones because we believe that garbage in, garbage out. Huh? Whoever's going to come out to be a leader tomorrow is going to come from the environment that we're living in today. They're not coming from anywhere else. So if we don't begin to entrench and put the right roots down tomorrow, we'll just continue repeating the same thing over and over again. Now, can you teach is that an old dog new? What's it? New trick? An old dog. Come again. Am I right? An old dog a new trick?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I believe yes. Was as individuals, until we are 6 feet under, there's room for change. There's as an avenue for us to always improve and then do things in a way that is healthy for everyone. So the point you made, yes, a lot of leaders are doing things that are not showcasing the right values, but there are a few that are doing those things, and we intend to highlight them. And we're not saying that people are perfect. Nobody, we're not saying people are perfect. Everybody has a history to where they're coming from. But wherever you are now, what do you want to do to make your legacy right for our nation? I remember how a lot of us felt a couple of years ago when we had the challenge with the NSAS. I felt completely frustrated because I felt as though I had no power to do anything. But that is a lie. Everybody has something they can do. If we're all doing something, we can all make a change. And one of the things that I did that I think is moving in that right direction is to join the DoRight initiative and then showcase myself as a leader, because it now puts you on the high point where you're even now more conscious about the actions that you take. So we need to start looking at those kind of things that will keep us accountable, keep accountability partners around us, that will ensure that slowly but surely we begin to turn that wheel and begin to churn out the right leaders in every sphere of our nation. I believe it's possible.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. You mentioned something very salient. We in this quest to do right, and we also need accountability partners around those people who are also pushing for the same, who are consciously living their lives and doing right. I'm coming to Ayo now. The initiative Do Right celebrates those who actually do right. Yeah, because but there's something Mama Adesua said about consciously putting yourself out there. Oh, I'm doing right, but still I'm selling myself so that people can actually see my light. Do we need to actually celebrate people who do right, who are making the effort to be role models? Is it necessary?
My short answer will be yes. And the reason will be like what Pastor said earlier. Doing the wrong thing has become such a norm that when people remember to do the right thing, people need to celebrate them. It may not be big celebration. I mean, you are doing the right thing. It should be big deal. That's what we should be doing anyway. But we're in an environment where the wrong thing is being heralded around the place, then do right must be. For example, now we said sometimes we have had information about people who've done the right thing, like the lady at the airport who returned some dollars, a lot of dollars that she found.
Yeah.
She was celebrated. She saw this. She met that person. She met the other person. She was promoted. I mean, the lady, the traffic warden, which most of us know on the island, who is so she's so what's the word? She does her work so well that that people had to take her up and help her family, send her children to school, to university. So really, I mean, there are many more of those than we can think of. We're even thinking of inviting them. When we're talking about role models don't only have to be the rich ones or the high profile people. Even these people are, because really we want everybody in Nigeria to do the right thing. So people at that strata of society also need to see their contemporaries doing the right thing, know that it's possible. Because really, I was saying to somebody, the traffic warden may not have gotten a lot of money from doing the right thing, but somebody sorted her children's education all the way to university.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the money she would need for that. I mean, the kids may end up now being big lawyers, big shots, and all that stuff. So really, they need to know that there's room for them in doing the right thing. Because someone was saying that sometimes poverty makes you not be able to think, but really that's an excuse. I know that in most of the parts of the world, when you talk about crime areas, usually in the poor areas. So obviously that's what we're seeing as well. But we're also saying that look, among the poor people, you can still stand out. So so yes, I do believe that they should be celebrated. They should, and we also intend to celebrate them from our own on our own programs. For us to get together. We are already trying to talk to them, find them, and invite them, and hopefully showcase them so that people can see that it doesn't matter who you are. There's no excuse. You can do the right thing. Thank you.
You can actually do the right thing. Thank you, very much and be celebrated for doing right. Okay, we have more comments before we take another short break. This time I will be seeing the Awake advert. Well, we have Adeshola Aduke, Arit Alamutu. Green Queen is here. Thank you so much. And she says, nice one, Ayo and Adeshua. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. Oluyomi Afolabi is asking a question. What plan do you have to reach a wider population? Because many people seem to be so far away from doing right. Okay, Pastor will take this question when we bounce back. Madishola Duke Arita Lamutu is still saying kudos, Pastor Wale. And we have much more comments and questions, but we'll take this break and get right back. Stay tuned.
The past is behind us, and the future is bright.
Yes, we are back. And of course, this is still Ignite Your Impact. And Pastor, there was a question popped about what plan to reach out to a broader audience and get more people doing right, because it seems like many people are not doing right now in Nigeria.
Yes, certainly we do plan to reach out to more people. This is one of the kind of things that we can do to let people know what we're about. We have a website. We have we're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. And when people contact us, we direct them to how they can join us and assist us. Obviously, we need more hands to be able to reach more people. And so we like to make an appeal to anybody who is interested in joining us to get in touch and become a part of what we're trying to do. Yeah, that's the answer to your question.
Okay, thank you so much, Pastor. We have more questions. I'll just run through some of them. Thanking everyone who is commenting and dropping questions. Joshua Obini says, doing right is actually the practical action that we take in our little corners every day as a way of encouraging others to do right. It calls for self examination to be sure we are truly doing right where we are seen and unseen. The unseen part is really important. Most often, there is a lot of theory about doing right with a lot of deficits in action. Oh, deficits in action, that's a key word. Kudos to the Do Right initiative for the yes. Thank you very much for that comment. Joshua Obimi, that's your contribution. Victor Ibe says a good initiative, but okay, how do you intend to build a structure in schools? How will you influence our current set of politicians, especially our senators, to buy into this? Our speakers, please, any of these questions that I'm reading out, you can decide which one to touch as you answer your questions so that we are able to handle a lot at the same time. This one is from Joy Amuche. The move to highlight those doing the right thing is an excellent initiative. Young people like us need to see more people modeling the lifestyle that's healthier for our future generation. Thank you so much. Okay, yes, we'll leave it at this. Does anyone want to address any of the queries popped?
Well, somebody talked about how do we address the politicians in our society. I think it's important for us to encourage people to go into politics. We need to encourage people to go into every facet of human endeavor.
Mm,
People who do the right thing, so that in politics, in business, in architecture, in medicine, you have people that want to do the right thing, and so we
mm.
we encourage people to do that.
Okay, people who want, who are primed, who are formed, who are enabled to do right. I think that is essentially what we should be aiming for, not people who are struggling to do right. Ma'am Adesua, which of the questions would you like to address? And of course, you had your question outlined. If there's any other thing you need to add, because we're rounding off this series.
Okay, so now everybody looks at the leaders as the people we should focus on, and it's right to do so because they're the ones that, to a large extent, shape our nation. They define the policies, they implement them, etc., etc. Great. But then also, I also believe that in the environment that you're operating in, you have a role to play as a leader in that environment, regardless of whether you're the child, the parent, whatever it is, in that sphere that you operate. So if you look at an example, and I think of, I'm privileged to work in an environment whereby there's a form of structure. But in that structure, you have diverse people that are coming in that have different values, different beliefs, you understand? So there's a unified concept in terms of policy that brings us together as a people. Now, when we see things that are not right, talked about being bold, talked about just wanting to just break that mold of standing out, to be daring to be different. It's painful sometimes. It can be very painstaking. It's not something that, because imagine if a wheel has been turned in the left direction, turn it right, depending on how hard it is to make that turn, then certain things that need to be addressed before that can happen. So in looking at the politicians and all of that, it's great. I'm looking at legacy building, like I said, for future. The people are going to come after them. If they are the same, then what are we talking about? So in the environment in which you are operating in, my challenge and our challenge to each and every one is, what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? When you speak about integrity as being, my best value, what things are you doing that shows that you don't have integrity? What things are you doing also and showcasing to the people around you? You can be a shop seller that's selling tomatoes in the market, and then you have a fake skill. What are you telling your child tomorrow? So it's nice to look at the top, and it's very important to do that. But we believe that in the building blocks that we are creating to bring that awareness, because we're bringing that awareness, if you have been in a dark space and light comes, it illuminates.
Yeah.
So our hope is to bring some form of illumination, and from them bring an understanding, then acceptance. Then we now begin to see people are now willing to take that bolt up and say to the passport person, you know what, I will wait, keep it, or to a road warden, you understand? I'll take your number.
Okay.
I'll
Now,
make a formal report about it. Go ahead, please.
okay. Yes, thank you very much. We would also like to look at this. This is for Ma'am Ayo Almuto. We're talking about business practice in Nigeria. In what ways can Do Right Awareness Initiative collaborate with businesses in the private sector specifically? This collaboration, I'm talking about practicable steps. You can tell us exact things that can happen so that we're actually seeing it as more realistic, that a certain company can actually do this, do that, so that way someone who can get ideas just by being here right now.
Okay, thank you. When we talk about in the business environment, I just want to take a step back. I want to sort of add to what Adesua said earlier. I think we should focus on each individual, on ourselves. Do we ourselves do right? Do I beat the traffic light? Do I use my phone while I'm driving? I remember when my daughter was in the car with me, she said, Mommy, I thought you don't do right. Why are you picking up your phone when you're driving? We're also busy pointing fingers at the government, at business as a group. I'm talking about individuals within a business, individuals within an organization, individuals within the nation. Let each of us be determined to do the right thing. Like Pastor Wale will say sometimes that when we're in Nigeria, we don't queue. But once we get out of Nigeria, we join the queue. So we know the value of queuing and taking your turn. Why don't you queue? Don't worry about whether the president doesn't queue. Why don't we queue? So I'm thinking even in the business, what we're trying to do is we're just talking to each other. We're talking to the business people. You do the right thing. Collaboration is not just to do with collaboration and then out there go and talk to some people. We're talking to each other. We are the business. We are the ones working in business. I'm representing business as I sit here. So it's Adesua. So it's Pastor. So are you. So I'm saying that practical steps for me is that each person should start from themselves, do the right thing. And if you also speak out. Speak out to your immediate environment. Speak out to your colleagues, your friends. When a friend comes to my advice, don't look at the dollars that she said she's going to make. Look at how she wants to make the dollars, and tell her, is that the way to make dollars? I've had friends come to talk to me, and I've told them that I don't think that's the way, and they said, I wasn't sure either, but thank you for agreeing, telling me. I could see the dollars she was going to make. I could have thought that, oh, she'll give me some. I mean, thought came to me, but really that was not going to be the right thing. So I think talking about business or anything else is about each and everyone doing the right thing within where they are and encouraging their colleagues and their family and their children, because your children are looking at you. They're looking at what you're doing, not what you're saying. So I think for me, those are the practical steps I would really like to share here. That's the takeaway I want
Okay.
us to take away from here from my
All right. I
angle.
have two
Thank you.
two last questions. These are quick pop questions that I would like for to be answered in just a few seconds. Please tell us ethical standards and morals in workplaces. How can Do Right initiative partner with workplaces to promote ethics and morals? What are the practical steps and ways that Do Right can intervene in the workplace?
Okay, so I'll just lend my voice here, and I'm sure Pastor will have one or two things to say. But it's something that it's
Okay.
forward thinking because it's not something that we have actually practicalized for now. But then, if you look at there's a concept in HR, best place to work. Okay, so when you put the areas of focus, the KPIs that measure what that best place is, there can be an assessment to indicate that yes, this area, and it's not coming from the people that are doing the owners of the business, from the people that are experiencing it. So, and I won't speak just about Do Right, I'll speak generally now. So I'm throwing it out there and hopefully something we can do
Mhm.
very soon. To put KPIs for measurement of people like, for example, customers to give an assessment about different organizations and rate them in terms of their performance with regards to agreed benchmark areas of values that we think that any business that is what they're sold in our nation today should be able to exhibit to their customers, just as an example. And it's publicized. Sometimes, when you to reinforce the behavior, you need to showcase what is being done wrong, but also encourage what is being done right. So I think that's one
Okay.
practical way that hopefully in the near future we can look at. We talk about advocacy as well and enlightenment. It falls in line with something like that. That's what I will propose. Did you hear me?
Yeah, we're waiting for Pastor, I think.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Um,
Pastor. Pastor, I would like to add this one as you answer that question briefly. Please, can you also tell us, because in your opening statement, the first question you answered, you talked about honesty. How can uh, faith-based organizations, faith communities, churches be part of the vanguard to stem corruption in Nigeria? What's the possibility and how?
Well, first and foremost, we have to be exemplary. I cannot overemphasize the need for exemplary behavior. You can't, my mother used to teach me that when you point fingers at anybody, three are pointing back at you. We have to be exemplary. And then we've got to be prepared, if necessary, to pay the price for speaking truth to power. You know,
Oh,
and then in our society today, there's hardly any sanction for doing the wrong thing, for dishonesty. We've had countless cases of monkeys and snakes swallowing public funds. And nothing comes of it. We hear the story, everybody laughs and says, how could this possibly happen? But nobody is ever brought to book for doing these things. So yes, the church needs to become much more, dare I use the word, militant about making sure that governments listen and do the right thing.
Okay, thank you so much, Pastor. For everyone who is here, we appreciate you, your comments, your contributions, and for your time. We thank you so very much. You can look up what DoRight is doing right on social media. But first, you can also check out the website www.dorightng. On YouTube, it is at DoRightNG. Same on Facebook, DoRightNG. Twitter at DoRightNG, and still on Instagram. So across social media platforms, that's the handle, so that you can be part of the movement and also support what DoRight is doing. Now, DoRight started in April 2022, and it has been a dynamite over time. A lot has happened, and the movement is growing. You'll do yourself a lot of good to be part of this movement. Join, be fired up to do what you have to do to save the country, to contribute your quota. Of course, look in the mirror and you find that you must start from yourself. I want to appreciate our speakers tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate in a special way Pastor Wale Adefarasin, the senior pastor of Guiding Light Assembly. Pastor, thank you so much for being here tonight and for your insightful contributions.
A privilege.
Oluwatobi says, thank you so much for this broadcast. I learned a lot from it. Well, please do well to pass on what you learned. Become an ambassador of DoRight as well. We appreciate in a special way, ma'am, Ayo Almuto, the COO of Conradclark Nig Ltd. Thank you so much for bringing your thoughts and experience from the business world.
It's an honor. Thank you very much for having me.
And of course, I appreciate also from MCIPM. Ma'am, please tell us what MCIPM means before we round up.
It's not a company. I'm just a member of CIPM. I work in an organization.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Adesua, Adewole, for being here tonight.
It's been an honor. Thank you very much for having me.
And to everyone who joined, thank you so much.
Right.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you very much for your thoughts. To everyone who contributed, who took out time to type comments, to contribute to the conversation, we appreciate you. Thank you. We appreciate you for contributing. And to the organizers of DoRight initiative, Ignite Your Impact, thank you so much for having us tonight. Keep doing right. Support the DoRight movement and become an ambassador as we make Nigeria the dream country that we want it to be. See you next time on this web series. God bless you. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
The past is behind us, and the future is bright.